Hello, I'm Sid Whedon, and this is the Psychic Weather Report for June 1st, 2025. Thank you for clicking in and listening. I appreciate it. Well, I've been through just absolute equipment hell. And I've been trying to get a podcast out for a week, and it's been nothing but hell with the equipment. I have this wonderful Shure um, 58 mic, PG, I think it's PG 58, and I paired that with a nice little new um, Pile 3-channel mixer. It has Bluetooth and USB and plus just three like normal channels and a XLR jack and some RCA plugs and all the things you need on a little mixer. And the idea was to run the really nice Shure mic into the mixer and then into my camera so I could just turn it on and record a podcast. Sounds simple enough, doesn't it? Well, I got all that set up. It worked perfectly. And then it quit. I don't know what it was. The mixer does plug into the computer also through the USB. That's where it gets its power. And I think I may have done something on the computer that screwed it all up. I have spent a week trying different microphones, plugging in a jillion different cables, adjusting every setting that I knew of, and couldn't get it. And finally, like this afternoon, I said, well, just fuck it. I'm going to plug the original back in, see what happens. Mic, mixer, and camera. Surprise, surprise. It all works just the way I intended it to. That's how I'm recording this for you now. Go figure. But anyhow, some of those original things that I wanted to talk about on that podcast I've been struggling with to get out for a week, I think are still worth talking about, telling about. So I'm going to do that now. And plus probably some new stuff. Good Kentucky bourbon. Old Forester, except no substitutes. I dreamed of my mom. This was an unusual dream. I had it in the early morning. It was quite vivid. I didn't forget it upon waking. I, most often forget my dreams when I awaken. But I didn't this one. It was like Mom was sitting in this like almost throne-like chair in front of me. But she was a little bitty girl. With ringlets in her hair. Think a very young Shirley Temple, and you got it. But it was Mom. And I am with her, and I am filling out some sort of application, and at times talking on the phone. I'm filling out the application, talking on the phone. And I said to Mom, "Congratulations, Mom. You're about to become the youngest elected United States Senator in history." And she's a little girl. And she just kind of kicks her feet and sort of giggles. And I think I repeated it maybe a couple more times, and she had the same reaction. That was a dream. Have no idea what it means. But when I went outside in the morning, the yard was full of butterflies. Little white ones, little cabbage flies, but they're true butterflies, little cabbage flies. They're just little pretty white. I love them. Butterflies. And monarchs. And then another black one went blasting by. Now, to me, the butterfly is a sign that the ancestors are close. I know a lot of people interpret butterflies as things like metamorphosis, radical transformation, new life, lots of stuff like that. They're not that for me. When I see a bunch of butterflies, I'm thinking ancestors. And I'm stopping, I'm opening up, I'm listening to my spirit to see, am I getting messages? Am I getting images? Am I getting feelings, sensations? All of that. All of it can be the message. Well, I wake up from the weird dream with Mom, go out into the backyard, and it's full of butterflies, and I'm thinking, okay, I get it. I'm listening, what you got to say? And sometimes just the message, and maybe it was for that morning, is I'm with you. I think your worldly things are kind of amusing. And so I'll be happy to be the next senator of the United States. And I'll have a lot of fun with that too. That's kind of how it came across to me. Now, I was turning all this stuff over. And so I decided to pull a card. And, I took my I have a pocket deck of tarot that I keep on my desk. They're small, but they're very handy. Just Rider Waite tarot pack, nothing fancy. And I pulled a card, and it was the Two of Swords. And if you'll remember, the Two of Swords is a woman sitting in front of the ocean. She's blindfolded, and she has two enormous swords in her hands, folded across her breast. And she's holding up these two enormous swords with one hand each. This is an impossible feat. Even the great swordsmen of the Middle Ages had to use two hands with swords that large. But she's sitting there and she's blindfolded. Now, the classic interpretation of this card is that you're facing a dilemma. Maybe you're facing a decision that you don't want to have to make. You're avoiding it. There's avoidance. There's a refusal to engage with the question. That is commonly the way the card's interpreted. I don't personally know of any questions I'm avoiding. it was kind of hard um, to draw any connection, honestly, between the two swords and the weird dream that mom of mom. I don't know. I'm sure we're all avoiding something. I'm sure there's always something that we're unwilling to see. Like maybe our mom is a little kid. But why did she appear as a child? I, of course, never knew her as a child. Uh, I do know that her childhood was very, very hard. It was in the Great Depression, and then her mother died when she was 9 years old, and oh my God, her childhood was not great. And that really, I guess that's a big part of her identity. Maybe that's why she appeared that way. Maybe so much of her is tied up in that early trauma that she carries that with her even into the spirit world. I don't know. I don't know. I've seen her before in dreams, and she was not a child, so I don't know. But there's a message there. I'm still working on it, to be honest with you. Um, I always have a way of taking things from the micro to the macro. In part, it's the way I was trained. In part, it's my own basic instinct. I think, things that happen to me that I experience often have more universal relevance than just to me. I guess I wouldn't write if I didn't believe that. I'm holding myself up so I don't slump, and it gets tiresome after a while. So, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take a break and smoke a cigarette and rest my shoulders, and then I will be back with you. Thank you for being here. All right, so I have had a smoke, been blasted by the animal ultrasonic repellent thing, refreshed my drink, walked around, got my shoulders a little loosened up, and I'm going to try to finish. I was beginning to talk about the macro. We in Northern Europe, Northwestern European Christian culture, we do not listen to or venerate the ancestors. I think this is a great loss in our culture. I do believe that they are with us in a very benign way. It's not spooky. It's not woohoo boo, jumping out of the corners. But like in our dreams, in our feelings, in our instincts, they're there guiding us. I feel their presence. I especially experience both of my parents in my dreams. And it's always a very benign experience. They often don't really even say a whole lot, but they're there. And I think they're there for everybody else. But we, of our culture, North American, um, Northwestern European, we ignore them. In Christianity, it's just the only spirit is Jesus, and if you're talking to anybody else, it's the devil. And that's kind of how Christianity does all that. And I think that's inadequate. Um, and the question always comes up is, well, are they actual spirits or some kind of psychological genetic memory that we have that's kind of boiling up out of our unconscious that gives us those feelings? I don't know. I will tell you they feel like spirits to me. They feel like beings that are outside of me, not a part of my own internal psychology. That's my own testimony. That's all I can give you. So then to me the question becomes, how do we who do not have this awareness or understanding as a part of our culture, how do we learn to listen to the ancestors? I won't say I know all the answers to that before I begin, and probably others know more about that than I do, but I'll just tell you my thoughts. I think one thing, first of all, is acknowledge their presence. Not hard, just acknowledge them. And then begin to listen. Dreams. Dreams are very, very important. Dreams are one of the ways that they talk with us. Impressions. Symbolic vistas. Seeing things that are suddenly, it's an ordinary thing, but it's suddenly charged with meaning. And it says something to you, listen to that. I think that's the ancestors. Things like tarot cards, if you're good with tarot cards, use them. If you're good with runes, use them. But don't go grabbing a deck of tarot cards just to start talking to the ancestors. It won't work. If you're not a natural with tarot, and if you're not already doing tarot, then that probably won't be a channel for them. They appear in the interactions we have with family and friends. I probably experience my mom and dad more when I'm around my children than any other time. I see little things in them. I hear little things, turns of phrases. I say things that suddenly, I'll say them and I'll think like, oh my God, I'm channeling my father, you know. But those are the kinds of ways, and like I said, there are many others. But those are the kinds of ways for me that I began to hear the ancestors. I think it's a very precious relationship. I think it's one to be cultivated, not feared. And I think Christianity's just dead wrong on this one. To close, I have a poem. Oh, joy. I have a poem. Wait a minute. Yeah, here we go. This is called Forgive Me If I Say the Wrong Thing. Forgive me if I say the wrong thing. Forgive me if I tell little lies every now and then. Don't hold it against me. I was just trying to get through the day. It's hard sometimes. Dance beneath the pale moonlight with your weapons and your curses. Like something mattered. Like someone cared. What were you looking for anyway? Was it the one perfect nanosecond, the on the event horizon that transfixed your mind? Can you tell anybody? Can you see it from here? Can you ever move on again to anything else? Forgive me if I do the wrong thing. If I stumble and fall, bumping into things and howling to the floor while grabbing my knee. I'm not a drama queen, but I do play one on TV. You can't let the world get to you. Even if the storms rage and the seas boil, even when you see no reason to toil, even when there's nothing left to spoil. This isn't the mercy that I expected. This isn't the love I thought was coming. I'm working hard toward a higher vibration. What I do with my soul echoes in heaven. Forgive me if I dream the wrong things. And awake up in a cold sweat, wide awake, drinking coffee at 3 a.m., hands still shake. Draw the magician, a world still to make. Daddy said there were no ghosts or monsters. He was from Texas, didn't believe in much of anything, maybe Jesus. Everyone believed in that stuff. It wasn't religion, but it was just enough. I'm not so sure, not so willing to forget. Have you seen it, huge and dark and black and cold, haunts my nightmares? It is getting old. It never stops or leaves, or so I'm told. Forgive me if I linger too long in the spectral night, somewhere that my mind isn't God's hockey puck, somewhere that I didn't feel like I had used up my luck, somewhere that I didn't have to give a fuck. Forgive me, I meant no one any harm. Or maybe just a little to shake things up, you know. I look out the window, not ready for the snow. I look out the window, not sure where I should go. Shuffle the deck and deal the cards. Fate flows warm from my hands. The hermit and the high priestess, the unrequited desire. Sing, sweet lady, in the darkness, until the moment quiets and desire no longer haunts us. Sid Whedon, December 24th, 2024. This has been the Psychic Weather Report for June 1st, 2025. Thank you for listening. Good night.